I am Bai Qian, the youngest daughter of the Fox Emperor of Qingqiu and the ruling lady of Qingqiu known across the 4 seas and 8 desolates. The world calls me the Divine Lady Qian Qian, praising my peerless beauty and profound cultivation. They say I am aloof and unrestrained, reigning over the vast land of Qingqiu with no worries or attachments. Yet no one knows that my seemingly free-spirited 100,000-year immortal life is woven with 3 lifetimes of love and hatred, obsessions that pierced my soul, and countless regrets, separations, and reunions. The world sees me as cold and emotionless, but I have loved, grieved, craved, resented, waited, and finally let go. I have tasted every emotion mortal and immortal love has to offer. My first lifetime was spent at Kunlun Shu as the naive young disciple Xian. I was merely 50,000 years old back then, childish, reckless, and ignorant of the ways of heaven and the sorrows of love and parting. Raised doted on by my elder brothers in the leisurely realm of Qingqiu, I grew up willful, unrestrained, and innocent. At that time, the god of war Mo Yuan of Kunlun Shu commanded unparalleled fame and reverence throughout the 3 realms. Since Kunlun Shu never accepted female disciples, I cut off my foxtail, discarded my feminine attire, and assumed the name Xiyin. I became the youngest and most unruly 17th disciple of Master Mo Yuan. In my early days at Kunlun Shu, I was restless, lazy, and unwilling to cultivate. I spent my days slacking off and fooling around, secretly drinking my master's wine and often talking back to my fellow disciples. I bore none of the disciplined demeanor of a cultivator. Master Mo Yuan was the coldest, most dignified war god of the 3 realms. Clad in black robes, distant and decisive, he upheld heavenly order and guarded mortal peace with unyielding justice. Yet alone among all his disciples, he spoiled me endlessly, tolerating every bit of my willfulness and mischief. He punished all others severely for their mistakes, but always forgave my recklessness, teaching me patiently and shielding me from all harm. Those 70,000 years at Kunlun Shu stretched long and quiet. Beneath the cold sea of clouds, protected solely by my master's gentle favor, I lived the most peaceful and carefree days of my entire life. Young and ignorant, I did not understand the depth of his silent tenderness. I simply indulged in this unique preference, taking it only as the bond between master and disciple. The days at Kunlun Shu were pure and untainted. Surrounded by senior brothers and guarded by my master, I was far from worldly chaos, unaware of human cruelty and the torment of love. I believed this peaceful eternity would last forever, but the heavens are unpredictable, and no peace endures unbroken. The Yi tribe rebelled, spreading warfire across the realms and throwing the 3 realms into turmoil. Countless immortals perished, mountains and rivers shattered, and heaven and earth dimmed. As the guardian war god of all realms, my master Mo Yuan sacrificed his own primordial spirit to seal the demon bell, halting the apocalyptic disaster and securing peace for the 3 realms. On that day, the clouds of Kunlun collapsed, immortal melodies faded, and blood dyed the sky red. I watched my most revered master dissipate before my eyes, his soul scattered into nothingness. In that moment, the world fell silent. All the peace I had known crumbled away, leaving only bone-deep grief and despair in my heart. To preserve his remaining immortal body, I stayed at Kunlun Shu, nourishing his corpse with my heart's blood every single day. I guarded him for 70,000 long years. I exhausted my cultivation and wasted my youth, clinging alone to a cold body and an unspoken obsession. The once lively Kunlun Shu grew desolate. My senior brothers scattered far and wide, leaving me solitary on an empty mountain, accompanied only by loneliness and endless longing. It was during these lonely years that I met Li Jing, the second prince of the Yi tribe. He was gentle yet dejected in those days. His soft warmth soothed the emptiness left by my master's passing. Grieving and lost, young and immature, I mistook temporary comfort for a lifelong home and foolishly gave him my sincere heart. I believed he was the only one who could understand and accompany me through the chaos, that we could transcend the barrier between immortals and demons to spend eternity together. But I misjudged human nature entirely. His affection was pretense, his tenderness a mask, and his hesitation his true nature. In the end, he yielded to power and worldly gossip, betraying every promise and crushing my wholehearted devotion into dust. He married Xuanu and abandoned me without remorse. Xuanu bore a face identical to mine, yet her heart was vicious and cunning. She coveted my appearance, my destiny, and my fortunes. She schemed against me countless times, stole my most precious treasures, robbed my master's immortal body, abducted my clansmen, and repeatedly tried to end my life. I fought desperately at the great purple bright palace, barely escaping death with severe wounds. Only then did I fully see the coldness of mortal hearts and sever all ties with Li Jing. In this lifetime, I endured 70,000 years of lonely guardianship for my master and wasted my sincere love on a deceitful man. I tasted the bitterness of separation and saw through the treachery of the world. When everything settled, my youthful dreams of Kunlun were shattered completely. My innocence died, leaving only weariness and a cold, desolate heart. My second lifetime was as a mortal woman named Susu, humble, powerless, and utterly destitute, dwelling on Junji Mountain in the eastern wilderness. While sealing the demon lord Qingchang, I expended most of my cultivation and suffered grave injuries. Corrupted by the malevolent aura of the demon bell, I fell into the mortal world, stripped of my immortal bones and stripped of all my past memories. I became an ordinary, nameless mortal with no family, no status, no peerless beauty, and no divine power. I survived in humility and solitude. Life on Junji Mountain was simple and quiet, undisturbed by the world. I lived alone in the wilderness, rising with the sun and resting with the moon, content with plain days. I once believed I would spend the rest of my mortal tribulation in peace, never again involving myself in immortal conflicts or emotional turmoil. But fate is inescapable, and karmic entanglement led me to Yehua after all. He fell wounded and broken onto my mountain. Kind and ignorant of worldly schemes, I took him in, nursed his injuries, and kept him company day and night. Our simple life held no immortal splendor or mortal luxury, only wind, moon, mountains, plants, and quiet companionship. In those days, Yehua set aside his cold dignity as the heavenly crown prince. He was gentle, devoted, and saw no one but me. He accompanied me through every sunrise and sunset, endured poverty beside me, and promised eternal companionship. He swore to give me everything and protect me for all time. Mortal love was pure and fervent, free of status gaps, worldly barriers, schemes, and suspicion. Only two sincere hearts leaning on each other. As a simple mortal who had never known such tender devotion, I fell deeply in love. I thought this mountain encounter was the greatest blessing of my life, that plain companionship was perfect happiness. We built a thatched hut as our home, swearing marriage under heaven and earth, with grass and trees as our witnesses. Those simple days were the purest, most carefree time across all three of my lifetimes. Yet immortals and mortals walk different paths. Sweet moments faded in the blink of an eye, and an abyss of suffering awaited us. When his identity as the heavenly prince was revealed, all mortal peace shattered instantly. Bound by heavenly destiny and the divide between immortals and mortals, I was dragged forcibly into the ninth heaven, a cold, hypocritical cage of rigid hierarchy. From the moment I stepped into the heavenly palace, my greatest tribulation began. For all its grandeur, the nine heavens was cold and cruel. Without status or backing as a mere mortal, I endured endless disdain, exclusion, and humiliation. Sujin was deeply scheming, malicious, and calculating, laying traps and sowing discord time and again to ruin me. Simple and unversed in palace intrigue, I could not defend myself or argue my innocence. I endured every grievance and injury in silence. I trusted Yehua completely, relying on him as my sole salvation and refuge. Yet the love I had devoted my entire heart to would eventually cast me into endless darkness. As the heavenly crown prince bearing responsibility for all living beings, he was bound by heavenly rules and entangled in political strife. He could not protect me wholeheartedly, nor choose me unconditionally. His hesitation, forbearance, compromise, and silence became the sharpest blade that wounded me. Pressured by Sujin's fabricated accusations and the entire heavenly court, he was forced to make a choice. I will never forget that freezing, heart-shredding day. Immortals all around watched coldly, no one speaking for me, no one shielding me. Under the eyes of the entire court, the man I loved personally gouged out my eyes and gifted them to another. The physical pain cut deep into my bones and soul, yet it paled in comparison to the despair freezing my heart. The love I had sacrificed everything for, the person I had entrusted my entire life to, did not believe me, did not protect me, and betrayed me utterly. All his tenderness was pretense, all his promises empty lies. My wholehearted devotion was nothing but a ridiculous delusion. Days in the heavenly palace grew colder and lonelier. Blind and isolated, trapped in that frigid cage, I was drowned in endless rumors and malice. I conceived a child and endured my pregnancy alone, uncared for and unloved, suffering endless cold stares and harsh treatment. After enduring unspeakable hardship, I gave birth to Ali, my child, my only remaining attachment in that cruel palace. Yet my spirit was already broken, my love long exhausted, and I had no more lingering affection left. When every sincere emotion had been trampled into dust and every obsession worn thin, I finally let go of all hope. I no longer begged humbly for affection, no longer struggled to preserve a broken love, no longer deceived myself. I walked alone up to the Juxian platform, standing high above the cold palace, gazing back at the bitter, foolish tribulation of my mortal love. In that moment, I abandoned all love and severed all mortal ties. I leaped from the platform. The demonic aura of Juxian platform raged violently, yet it could never match the pain in my heart. That leap ended my mortal tribulation. I shed my mortal flesh, broke through all seals, and regained my true identity as the divine lady of Qingqiu. That leap erased all foolish mortal longing and restored every memory of past joy, sorrow, betrayal, and pain. The mortal Susu was humble, sincere, and deeply loving. She loved purely and suffered completely, ending her life in sorrow and vanishing into the violent winds of the Juxian platform. The world no longer had that gentle, foolish mortal girl who loved with all her heart. Only the cold, emotionally detached Bai Chen of Qingqiu remained. Returning to Qingqiu scarred and broken, every inch of my soul etched with past pain. Unwilling to remember that heart-wrenching love tribulation or the man who destroyed me, I asked Zhe Yan for the water of oblivion. I drank it all in one gulp, erasing every memory of Yehua, every love and hatred from my mortal lifetime. From then on, all past emotions were sealed away. I returned to Qingqiu, ruling my realm in peace, dwelling among endless peach blossoms, ignoring heavenly affairs, and cutting myself off from all romantic entanglement. I lived in indifference and freedom, believing I would never again have any connection with that man from the 9 heavens, that my painful mortal tribulation would remain buried forever. Yet fate weaves endless karmic bonds. 3 lifetimes of entanglement were destined long ago, impossible to escape or abandon. My 3rd lifetime began as the sovereign Bai Qian of Qingqiu, reunited at last with Yehua, the heavenly crown prince, reunited in love, hatred, and unresolved obsession. 300 years passed quietly. The peach blossoms of Qingqiu bloomed year after year. I lived in calm detachment, my heart untouched by old emotion, having long forgotten the love and despair of the Juxian platform. I believed peaceful, emotionless freedom would be my eternal future. But a full moon banquet at the East China Sea shattered my 300 years of tranquility. In the crowd, I met Yehua again, the man erased from my memory, yet carved permanently into my soul. He stood with our young son Ali, his features unchanged, his affection unwavering. His gaze locked firmly on me, carrying 300 years of longing, guilt, and obsession. Still under the spell of oblivion, I felt no emotion upon seeing him. I did not recognize this stranger, only seeing an overly persistent, clinging heavenly prince. I could not understand the depth of his feelings, his relentless pursuit, or the endless guilt and longing in his eyes. Cold and distant, I avoided him, determined to cut all ties and remain unrelated. Yet he refused to let go. For 300 years, he had waited in solitude, yearning endlessly and never finding peace. He remembered everything, while I remained blissfully ignorant, sheltered by my own forgotten past. Ali's soft, repeated calls of mother stirred the tenderness hidden in my heart and slowly uncovered my sealed memories. He approached me gently and persistently, devoting endless patience and warmth to heal my wounds and make up for the mistakes of the past. Knowing every grievance and suffering I had endured for love, he treated me with double tenderness and exclusive devotion, striving endlessly to atone for 300 years of debt. But buried memories inevitably awaken and sealed pain inevitably resurfaces. When every fragment of Susu's humiliation, agony, despair, and betrayal returned to my mind, the hatred and grief sealed for 3 centuries surged forth uncontrollably. I finally remembered who I once was, the bullied, blinded mortal girl who had leapt to her death for love. I recalled every wasted, sincere feeling, every humble compromise, every heartbreak, love and hatred intertwined, trapping me in overwhelming pain. I resented him. I resented his cowardice and silence back then, his failure to believe or protect me, his hand that pushed me into the abyss, the extreme suffering he had forced me to endure. I treated him coldly, kept my distance, tested him repeatedly, and resisted fiercely, unable to forgive or dare to let my guard down. I feared repeating the same tragedy, fearing my sincere heart would be trampled once more. Yet I slowly learned that he had not known peace for 300 years. Right after my leap from the platform, he had jumped after me, nearly dying from severe injuries. For 3 centuries, he endured endless longing and guilt, living in lonely regret without a single day of relief. For all his lofty status and heavenly power, his life had been empty and haunted solely by me. I watched him set aside his heavenly dignity and cold pride, waiting humbly and accommodating me endlessly. I watched him shield me from all harm, remedy every mistake, and devote every day solely to me. My heart, frozen for 300 years, slowly softened and melted open. Yet 3 lifetimes of love and hatred cannot be easily resolved. The scars were too deep, the pain too ingrained. Though his love was true, my wounds were hard to heal. I struggled endlessly between resentment and reconciliation, between letting go and clinging to the past, fearing another separation, another betrayal, fearing this karmic love would end in emptiness after all. When Ching Chang broke free and the demon bell reawakened, bringing chaos to the 3 realms once more, Yehua faced mortal danger to protect the world and me. He resolved to sacrifice his primordial spirit again to seal the bell, repeating Master Mo Yuan's fate to guard our peace. In that moment, I finally understood that his love was never shallow or fleeting. It was sincere, resolute, and fearless of life and death. I finally comprehended all his helplessness and restraint in the past, his hidden affection and centuries of lonely waiting. Bound by heavenly rules, status, and responsibility in his youth, he had been powerless to choose differently and had committed irreparable wrongs. Yet he had spent every remaining day of his life making amends with endless tenderness and devotion. Blessed by merciful fate, we finally received redemption. He survived mortal peril, his spirit restored, and returned safely to me. The catastrophe ended, peace returned to the realms, and all suffering, separation, and hardship finally found closure. After 3 lifetimes of tangled love and hatred, after countless separations and reunions, we finally crossed fate's cycle, resolved old grievances, and walked back to each other across endless years and distance. In my first life, I was the naive Seen, lonely in guardianship, misled in love, left with endless regret and desolation. In my second life, I was the humble Susu, loving deeply yet suffering betrayal, severing all mortal obsession at the Juxian platform. In my third life, I am the cold and clear Bai Qian, reclaiming my past, entangling love and hatred, surviving life or death tribulation, and finally gaining perfect reunion. Over hundreds of thousands of years of immortal life, I have witnessed the prosperity of the 3 realms, endured worldly chaos, tasted extreme tenderness, and borne soul-shattering heartbreak. I grew from an innocent youth to a devoted mortal, and finally to a transparent, detached divine lady, shedding childishness, surviving pain, letting go of obsession, and learning true peace. The world envies my noble status, peerless cultivation, and unrestrained freedom, feared across all realms. Yet no one knows my cold indifference is self-protection born from endless pain. My calm transparency is the rebirth of a soul scarred all over. I once believed all love brings only suffering and all hearts are cold, vowing never to love deeply again. But Yehua taught me that love holds both pain and sweetness, regret and perfection. Not all devotion is wasted, not all companionship is fleeting. True love transcends 3 cycles of reincarnation, survives endless time, defies worldly uncertainty, and heals every scar and regret. The 10-mile peach blossoms of Qingshu bloom eternally, year after year. Their blazing flowers have witnessed every rise and fall of my 3 lifetimes of love, watching me shift from obsession to detachment, from loneliness to fulfillment. 3 lifetimes of entanglement, 3 eras of ups and downs. I have loved, grieved, resented, waited, let go, and finally found peace and perfection. For the rest of my days, the peach blossoms will bloom as always, the wind and moon remaining gentle and constant. I am no longer the lonely Xian clinging to grief, nor the desperate mortal Susu drowning in heartbreak. I am Bai Qian, tempered by time, cherished by lasting love, who has sailed through 1,000 storms and finally attained completeness. Our fate began among peach blossoms across 3 lifetimes, and finally settles among peach blossoms still. All things are destined. Fortunately, after countless twists of fate, my beloved has returned at last. All storms have passed.